Hi, this is Professor Tim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. Another tutorial in our series of tutorials for basic rhino modeling. Continuing with our final ring project with the false bezel setting. Class, I want you to be aware that what I'm going to do now is show you some various ways to apply sculptural or relief detail or even pierce detail onto the surface of a ring. I'll show you a few different ways of approaching this. I don't have a design in mind, so I'm winging this. So what I come up with may not be lovely. Be more interested in the techniques I'm trying to show. I want to create a raised knife edge element on the shoulder coming around to the front of the ring. And the method I'm going to use to do this is I'm going to do what they call discrete modeling. I'm going to model directly on the surface. No tricky business as far as flowing or anything else. I'm just going to model this in situ, right on the surface of the ring. The most useful tool for doing this, in my experience, is a C-plane tool. Surprise, surprise. And that C-plane tool is set C-plane to camera or to view. That has now put a C-plane perpendicular to my view of the object. Okay. The next thing I need to do is to get this to be planar or like a regular top view, and I'm going to do that by typing in the word plan. This now behaves as an orthographic viewport because it is an orthographic viewport. If I want to, I can save it. Okay? So that if I break this, or let's say close it, set my C-plane viewport layout back to 4. So I have my perspective back. And I'm working along. If I want to get that back, that carries the viewport and the camera angle and the C-plane information. Next thing I'm going to do, now that I have my viewport, and you don't have to save it if you don't want. I usually don't. I just usually recreate it. Is draw the detail that you want. Okay. Now it's going to disappear because that C-plane is behind my object. Okay. I want to be able to see my object better. Okay. If you go to Properties tab, you have a thing here called Density, IsoCurve Density. This shows how many curves, how many isocurves it's going to show. If you increase this number, you get more and more isocurves to your object. And the reverse is also true, and that's what we're going to do. If I set it down to 0, and actually it looks like that didn't make a difference, unfortunately. That's the fewest it can have. You have to select the object in order to control this. Okay. Took a little bit out. That'll at least make it so that it's not as apparent. And if I lock the layer, it makes things a little easier. Something else I can do, especially if I'm working on a white layer, which is very easy to return to its self color, is I can come in here and change my color of my object. to where it's barely visible, and set my drawing curve to a layer that is clearly visible. Okay, so I keep drawing. Something Wolverine-esque like this. Okay. The method I'm going to use to make this is going to require I have a center line, more or less. So I'll go ahead and draw that while I'm here. I'm not going to pay a lot of attention to this lower form, but I will this one. Rebuild my curve to something reasonable for editing. Turn on some control points. Sweeten it up a little bit. Same thing with these. That point's a little too drastic. Another drastic point here. Turn off my object snaps, they were getting in the way. In case you haven't discovered it yet, we have an object snap in our settings we do in class. X-enter. X-enter toggles whether your object snaps are locked or not. And I use that a lot. Take one more look at this, see if I think it needs to be addressed. No, it looks pretty good. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and break this view, go to perspective. Okay. You can see in perspective what that C-plane looks like. Alright. I'm going to grab both of these drawings and I'm going to project them onto this surface. Okay. Now it's going to project it all the way through anywhere it can. I only want the ones on the outside edge, or its outside surface, so I'll deselect those, holding down the control key, simply because there's less of them to select, and then I'll delete. Okay. And I really don't need those anymore. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to record history and project these to C-plane, to surface. Once again, keeping only the ones that are good. I'm going to check and make sure that my project history was maintained. It was. I want to know where the center line on this is. It would have been a useful thing for me to do before I started drawing, but I can do it now. Okay. Got to be careful not to hit my X enter when I'm in the middle of isocurve extraction, because if you do, if you hit X, it's extract all, and you end up with a mess. Okay, I want the center of this. Okay, and the center of this. And the center of this. Okay. Now I can choose to go back into my viewport for this, or I can just do it from here and look at it, which is what I'm going to prefer to do. I want this whole thing to be to the right of center. Holding down my shift key. I'll do that. And now I will delete the ones I don't want. Okay, so I have this. Now the thing is that while this is pretty much what I want, this has some distortion because when it was projected, because of where the C-plane is and because projections are C-plane dependent, it got a little distorted. So I'm going to rotate my view to where I'm looking exactly at what I want to draw. I'm going to set my C-plane to this viewport, to this camera angle. Type in plan. And now I can see this flat on. I'll project it back to the C-plane, which we won't see anything because that's perpendicular to us, so it's going straight down onto it. And I can now change this a little bit. Rebuilt those curves so I could play with them more easily. Once again, a really aggressive point is probably not a good thing. I don't want as much of a bill as I have in there. I want it to look more like a frond or a leaf. I would actually like this to curve back up towards the more centrally located one. Missed a point. Okay, that's pretty good. I want that to actually sit on top of the other one, so I'll use point snap. Fill that point out a little bit more. And adjust this. Center line so that it's more in the center. And once again, I'm only doing that because the method I'm going to use to model this, I'm going to want to use this center line. I'll be employing a pipe at one point, and pipe's only good if you have a center line. If I weren't using the center line for anything, I wouldn't bother drawing it. Okay? So, I grab these three curves and project them back onto the poly surface. Unlock, click, enter. And it looks like nothing has happened. Set this back to perspective. Once I hit plan, it becomes a parallel viewport. If I hit perspective, it'll go back to its normal. And you can see what happened. Okay? In fact, I'll undo it so you can see it happen in this viewport. Same thing, same command. Okay. I only want the outer one. Okay. So there are my two shapes. Now I can just go to a regular top C-plane. I have my surface, my curves right on the surface, right where I want them. I want to make a variable radius pipe. I want the starting radius to be 0, ending radius to be 0, and then points for next radius if I hit enter, it repeats the last radius. Okay. And there's my my variable radius fillet. I'm going to take a look at it. The only part of it I'm really interested in is the top line. I will extract that isocurve. And then delete it. Okay. Now I need to adjust this a little bit. And there is no easy way. I want a lot less points than that. I'll give it 15. Turn on a curvature graph. Make it fairly conservative. Go back to my wireframe. Relock my surface. Okay. Now, I don't have a C-plane to move these relative to anymore that will work. So I'm just going to use world space. Okay. And yeah, I'm going to use a gumball. I almost never do. But this is a good opportunity for it. Going to pull it straight up to give it some elevation. Then before I do anything else, I'm going to look at it from this perspective and make any other adjustments I think I need. I want it to stay in the middle, looking straight down on my form. Going to move this straight up. And then take a look and see what that did, looking straight down on my form. Now in theory, you can grab this check box and move X and Y to the current, and then this box will allow you to move Z and X. I usually depend on the arrows, because when you're control point editing in three-dimensional space, it's good to keep as many things constant as you can. Okay, another approach would be to come down the entire length and get the elevations where you want them. And once you've achieved what you think is a reasonable result, then rotate looking straight down and make any adjustments you think need to be made. This thing where you see me constantly rocking the viewport comes from this. I used to do mesh modeling, mesh character modeling. And when you're moving vertices on mesh modeling, the way that you check to make sure that you haven't gone completely crazy, because you get kind of tunnel vision. Is to constantly move and shift your perspective to see if it still looks right to you. Okay? I think that's okay. Alright. Gumball off. Surface back on. Now I would like to have this lift a little bit away from the surface. Surface, extrude. Now the best fin is fin normal to surface, but the problem I'm going to have is this is a poly surface. Okay? I'm going to type in a very small dimension, 0.1. I don't care that for that. 0.15. Let's do that again. If I want to go the area, the direction of the arrows, it's a positive number. 0.15. And then it wants me to click to verify the just going to hit enter. Same thing here. Well, that's interesting. You'll see that even though I typed in 0.15, it extruded it inward. So basically pull your mouse to get it going the right direction before you click enter again. Same thing here. I don't want it going that direction. I'm just going to back out because Rhino's already decided that's the direction it's going. Make sure my mouse is the direction I want first, then click. It did something unexpected there. You can set various heights along the way. I don't want that. I want it consistent. The first direction you pull is what decides it, so there, enter, enter. Again. And once again it's got in its mind it's going that way. So it's about setting up your direction. Hit enter, get the same distance, enter again to finish. Same thing here. And it's giving me what I don't want. And it's not going to let me do it. It still wants to go inside. This is a lot more trouble than it usually gives me, which is great because I'm doing a tutorial. But I'll get there. Select base surface. Oh, somewhere it got changed to minus 150. Don't want that. Okay, that might be 0.15. Enter. Alright. I don't know how it got moved to minus 0.15. Repeat the command. Yeah, that's much better. Alright. So what I have now is a fin that's moving normal to surface. Okay, it doesn't want to join here. Unable to join, unable to join, unable to join. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that right now. Okay, it was able to join that. It was able to join that. It was able to join that. So this is my problem right here. Since this is a simple extrusion, it hasn't been trimmed. It's an untrimmed surface. I can do a match. I'm going to try that. So I want it to match that. I just want position. Okay, so those joined. Nice. Difficult, but nice. Now I'm going to create the knife edge using this curve that I extracted and modified from the pipe. Problem is that it's now buried into this rim. That should be okay. I'll move it to the top of the rim. Of course, it's not going to meet the top of the rim here, so I will have to change it a little bit. Curve edit tools match to the edge of this surface, and it's going to the wrong end. It is not making my life easy. One more time. So I'll pick this edge. And no matter what I do, it's fighting me. So I'll go old school. Turn on the points, grab the point, move from end to end, and I win. Take a look and see if I think I want to adjust this at all. Okay, I'm good. So, to create the sides of my raised fin, I'm going to use a bi-rail sweep. So I need at least one cross section. It's just going to be a straight line. I want it to feel right. you know? Like the angle makes sense with what I'm trying to do. I also don't want to use the edge of the surface for this because it's a poly surface, and that's just going to make my life miserable. Got ahead of myself. I have to make sure they're extracted first. Enter, and then join. Surface, bi-rail sweep, rail, rail. Select cross-sections. Our first cross-section is the end point. The next cross-section is the curve. Final cross-section is the point. And there's our surface. It looks pretty good as it is. I could add a slash if I wanted to maybe straighten out the direction of those iso curves. But that's all right. Going to extract the curve edge here. Join them together into a single poly curve. I need a cross section once again, so I'll create that. Something that makes sense. That wasn't it. I'm going to turn off those red curves because they're distracting me. Once again, I'm just looking for something that is an angle between those two rails is nice and makes sense. Actually, going to do it one more time. Something in between those two. That's alright. 2-rail sweep. Rail. Rail. Point. Section curve. Point. Take a look at what I've got. Looks nice. Okay. Turn off the curves. Bring this up. Join it. And now I should be able to use these two curves joined to trim out a hole in the top of my piece, to which I can join this rim. Now there's a naked edge in there somewhere because it didn't give me a solid. Okay. Oh, my bad. It didn't join in that. Oh, it just won't take it. Alright. Analyze edge tools. Join two naked edges. Okay, it really hates this surface. So, delete it. And we never got a surface here. Oh, yes, we did. It just hates it too. I'm going to leave it in position for right now. Bi-rail sweep. Edge. 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 Enter. Join. I'm going to turn on my naked edges again just so I can see if this closes them. And it did. It left me a dot. I don't care about dots. And actually this surface came good again, also with a couple of dots. A couple of dots don't worry me. Magix and Matrix will solve that without any problem. Okay? If I was really hung up on it. I would come in and take that entire side out. There's edge tools. I would borrow this edge. Join them together. I would merge this edge so that I had no more seam lines on it. That's a single long surface. And I would do this whole sweep again. Curve, surface edge, surface edge, surface edge, enter. And try joining this whole extension at once. And it still really hates this seam for whatever reason. So, yeah, I'll live with it, okay? Magix will fix that for me in a heartbeat. Okay, the second one, it is the same. And by the way, this is the challenge whenever you have a poly surface. These naked edges happen as it crosses a seam. Seams are always problematic, okay? I'm going to do the same thing here. Pipe. Zero. Zero. I'll click somewhere in the middle and pull it up. I don't want it too high. That's fine. Going to extract an isocurve. Along the top somewhere. Throw that. Whoa. One more time. I turned off used my X enter shortcut, which gave me extracted the entire wireframe, which I definitely didn't want to do. There, thank you. Going to rebuild this to something usable. Turn on its points. And do the same process we did before. Don't really have any use for the sub-anchor there, that anchor point. Get my elevations first. Being careful to revolve my view so I'm as edge on as I think is possible, is reasonable. Certainly don't want that point. feel a bit of a hump here, which I'll take down. Okay. And actually, I want this one to come out more towards the bottom edge. Now, I know for a fact that what I'm doing is messing with my elevations as I do it. I'm not really worrying about it right now. I'm trying to get a curve I like. I'll perfect it in a minute. All that to say is it's not a single pass event. This is three-dimensional control point editing out in midair using a gumball. Precision is not what we're dealing with right now. So once you know you don't have a lot of precision, let go of having a lot of precision. Just insist on checking and rechecking and revising and re-revising until you get something nice. I'm going to use my curvature graph now to help me. See how it shows me that kink right there? I sensed I had a big bulge, and it turns out I was right. I'm not going to be overly concerned about the curvature graph either, because smoothing it in one direction is unsmoothing it in another. Okay? Since we don't have just absolute X, Y, and Z, because we're in three-dimensional space, it's more about an idea. Now, if I want predictability, as I was saying before, use the handles instead of the... Although I have to tell you, Rhino's gumball is flawed in that it changes its X, Y, and Z based on your last movement, and that really takes away its usefulness. That dependable X, Y, and Z is critical. Now, I would hope there, by aligning it to world, hopefully it will not be able to do that anymore. X, Y, and Z will stay X, Y, and Z. And that at least gives me predictability. Okay. Rhino's gumball is also one of the least smooth I've ever worked with. So it does jerky movement, so you're trying to do all this careful positioning, and the gumball seems to be able to only handle about 1/10 of a millimeter of difference of movement, which is not nearly subtle enough. But okay. I'll quit complaining and call that good. Okay, now going to do the same extruded border. Surface, extrude, normal. 0.15 was good. That went inside. And that put it inside again. Let's change it to -1.5. On its own. Thank you, Rhino. And it flipped it. I'm not sure what's happening. I'll go wireframe. It's still giving me that inverted. See, it wants to take that pick point all the way back there, and I don't know why. See, the problem is it's picking the end of the curve, which is all the way down there, and I'm tired of that. So I'm going to change my direction, flip my curve around. So now hopefully it will select from this end of the curve. See that? And that worked. Join these together. And it joined into 3 open poly surfaces. So once again, Rhino is hating what it is I'm trying to do. So, I'm going to try and correct it before it becomes a problem this time. Extract this edge, this edge, this edge. Enter. Join. And I'm going to rebuild them. I don't care how many points it has, because I'm not going to adjust it. So 35, just to make sure it stays true. And then I can delete. I don't want to delete that all the way around, but I can delete. Okay. Alright. Rhino 4 would never have done that. It's extruded this as one surface with a kinked end. Very inefficient choice for Rhino to make. And it does it more and more lately. Extrude those, extract those, join them, rebuild it. And now I can delete the extruded surfaces. See, there was a weird little scrap of surface there. Bring back my original curves. Draw a section. Get rid of near snap, that's dangerous for what I'm trying to do. And do it by row sweep. Top, bottom, end, enter. Top, bottom, end, enter. Now those two should join without hesitation. There we go. It's going to be the same thing, although I would like it to dish on this side. I don't want a straight cross-section. I want a cross-section. Actually, I want it to dish on both sides. I want to put a C-plane so I can draw cross-sections. Easiest way to do that is a circle command. Circle around curve. Now, I've already pre-selected the curve. If I hadn't, it would ask me to select the curve and hit enter. So, and then I pick where I want it, and I pick where along here I want my C-plane. That's good. Put a surface on it. Okay. Set the C-plane to it. Okay. Now that C-plane has nothing to do with its orientation with what I would like this to look like. I can change that if I want. I don't really care. I know what I'm after. And I'm not looking for, although I would like an intersection point here. I'm not looking for smoothness across the spine. If I was, I would have to set that up a little differently. But I'm not. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get a cross-section of it where it meets this poly surface as well. Okay. I'm going to do an arc tool. Arc, start, end direction. Start, end, direction. Do the same thing over here. Start, and in this direction I want to bow up. Like that. Back to top C-plane. Okay. So I'm ready to surface. By wheel sweep. Edge. Rail. Oh, I have a problem. Indeed I do. I did not, and I have already used it for a cross section. My ends don't match. That's easy. Move it up. I may have to adjust this one a little bit. Okay. Move this one up. And I'll definitely have to adjust here. Only point I have to really be worried about adjusting is if it gets near that cross section that I was careful to draw. Otherwise I'm fine. And a couple more. I'll bump these a touch. There. Now I can make my surfaces. By a rail sweep. Rail, rail curve, point section, curve section, point section. Take a look at how I think it's looking. Okay. Has that nice dish going. Now for the outside. Edge rail, curve rail, point section, curve section, point section, done. Okay. Join these together. Hide that for now. Hide that for now. Join these two elements and trim out my piece. Join that in, and let's see if we got any naked edges around this one. I'm betting that the extra effort I took removed them. Yeah, see, there are none. So going in and addressing those edges solved the problem. Okay, the only thing I would do from here is mirror these over. In the interest of time, I'll just cut and slice my way around the piece. Cutting plane starts from 0, trim, mirror, join, cutting plane 0, across the middle, cut, mirror, join. Bring back my stone, and we'll E-map it for fun. Okay, so that's showing applying sculptural detail using swept surfacing and the drawing method of using viewport C-plane set to camera or set to view so that you can draw and project your curves accurately on a surface. Okay? Thanks for watching.